The unification of Italy was a complex and multifaceted process that took place between 1848 and 1871, transforming the fragmented peninsula into a unified state. This process, known as the Risorgimento, Italian for resurgence, was marked by political, social, and military struggles driven by the desire to consolidate the various independent states and regions of Italy into a single nation. The unification was not a straightforward or peaceful process, but rather a series of revolutions, wars, diplomatic maneuvers, and ideological debates that shaped the modern Italian state. Background: the fragmentation of Italy. Prior to the mid-19th century, Italy was not a unified nation, but a collection of independent states and territories. These included the Kingdom of Sardinia, Piedmont, the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies, the Papal States, the Grand Duchy of Tuscany, and the Kingdom of Lombardy-Venetia, which was under Austrian control. The fragmentation of Italy was a consequence of centuries of foreign invasions, dynastic conflicts, and regional divisions. The political landscape of Italy was shaped by the legacy of the Congress of Vienna, 1815, which had redrawn the map of Europe after the Napoleonic Wars, creating a patchwork of conservative monarchies and maintaining Austria's influence over the northern Italian regions. During the early 19th century, Italy was deeply influenced by the broader currents of European history. The French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars had introduced ideas of nationalism, liberalism, and the rights of individuals to govern themselves. These ideas resonated with many Italians who were dissatisfied with the domination of foreign powers, particularly Austria, and the disunity of their homeland. The Risorgimento was born out of the desire for a unified, independent Italy, free from foreign control and dominated by a single central government. The revolutions of 1848. The year 1848 was a pivotal moment in the history of European revolutions, and Italy was no exception. Inspired by the revolutionary waves that swept across Europe, the Italians rose up against their foreign rulers and local monarchs in a series of uprisings. The revolutions of 1848 were driven by both liberal and nationalist ideals, as well as frustrations over economic hardship and social inequality. In the Kingdom of Sardinia, under the leadership of King Charles Albert, a constitutional monarchy was established in response to the pressure from revolutionaries. In Milan, the Austrians were driven out after a brief period of fighting, and the Kingdom of Lombardy-Venetia was temporarily liberated. However, the Austrian Empire soon launched a military campaign to crush the Italian uprisings, and by 1849, the revolutions were largely suppressed. Despite the failure of the 1848 revolutions, the year marked an important turning point. It demonstrated that many Italians were ready to fight for a unified nation and sparked a growing sense of national identity. The role of key figures. Several key figures emerged as leaders of the Risorgimento, each contributing in different ways to the unification process. 1. Giuseppe Mazzini. Mazzini was a central figure in the early stages of Italian nationalism. A revolutionary and visionary, Mazzini believed in the establishment of a democratic Italian republic. He founded the Young Italy movement in 1831, which sought to promote the idea of a united republican Italy. Although Mazzini's efforts were unsuccessful in the short term, his ideas and ideals were influential, particularly among younger generations of Italians. His emphasis on the need for a republic rather than a monarchy would become an important ideological force during the unification process. 2. Count Camillo de Cavour. Cavour was the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Sardinia and one of the most important figures in the unification of Italy. A pragmatic and skilled diplomat, Cavour understood that Italian unification could not be achieved through revolutionary uprisings alone. He worked tirelessly to strengthen the Kingdom of Sardinia and to build alliances with other European powers. Cavour's diplomatic skill was particularly evident in his dealings with France. He formed an alliance with Napoleon III, which would prove crucial in the defeat of Austria in northern Italy. 3. Giuseppe Garibaldi. Garibaldi was a military leader and nationalist hero who played a crucial role in the unification process. A passionate Republican, Garibaldi led several military campaigns to liberate southern Italy and unite it with the north. His most famous achievement was the Expedition of the Thousand in 1860. in which he and his followers successfully conquered the kingdom of the Two Sicilies, paving the way for the eventual unification of Italy. Garibaldi's popular appeal and his reputation as a military hero made him a symbol of the Risorgimento, even though his republican ideals were often at odds with the monarchy. The Wars of Unification. The process of Italian unification was marked by a series of wars that were fought against both internal and external enemies. These wars were crucial in achieving the territorial consolidation of Italy. The Second Italian War of Independence, 1859. This war, fought against Austria, was a critical moment in the unification process. Cavour, with the support of Napoleon III of France, was able to provoke a conflict with Austria, which was the dominant power in northern Italy. The French army provided crucial military support, and after a series of victories, the Austrians were forced to cede Lombardy to Sardinia. This victory was a significant step toward unification, although it did not achieve full unity. The region of Venetia remained under Austrian control. 2. The Expedition of the Thousand, 1860. Garibaldi's military campaign in southern Italy played a decisive role in the unification of the country. In May 1860, Garibaldi and a group of volunteers known as the Thousand sailed from Genoa to Sicily. They quickly overthrew the kingdom of the Two Sicilies, and by September 1860, Garibaldi had captured Naples. The success of this campaign was due to Garibaldi's military genius, the support of local populations, and the weakening of the Bourbon monarchy in southern Italy. Although Garibaldi hoped for a republican government, he ultimately handed over control of the southern territories to King Victor Emmanuel II of Sardinia, recognizing the importance of a unified monarchy. 3. The Third Italian War of Independence, 1866. The final phase of unification came with the defeat of Austria in the Third Italian War of Independence. Italy allied with Prussia in the Austro-Prussian War of 1866, and in return for its support, Italy was granted Venetia. This territorial acquisition completed the unification of Italy's northern regions. However, Italy's involvement in the war was largely symbolic, as the real fighting took place between Prussia and Austria. 4. The capture of Rome, 1870. The final act in the unification of Italy was the capture of Rome. The Papal States, which included the city of Rome, had remained outside the new Italian state, largely due to the opposition of the Catholic Church. In 1870, after the Franco-Prussian War weakened French influence in Italy, Italian troops marched into Rome and captured the city. Rome was declared the capital of the Kingdom of Italy, and the Papal States were fully incorporated into the new Italian state. The challenges of unification. While Italy was now politically unified, the country faced numerous challenges. The Risorgimento had been driven by a desire for national unity, but it did not automatically bring about social or economic cohesion. The northern and southern regions of Italy were vastly different in terms of economic development, political traditions, and social structures. The industrialized north was more prosperous, while the agrarian south remained underdeveloped. These regional disparities led to tensions and inequality which would persist throughout Italy's history. Additionally, the Risorgimento had been a largely elite-driven movement. While it had broad popular support, the new government was dominated by the northern elites and the monarchy, which left many southern Italians feeling alienated. The failure to address social inequalities and the persistence of local political power structures in the South contributed to long-standing problems in the newly unified state. The unification of Italy was a momentous event in European history, resulting in the creation of a modern nation-state. It was the culmination of decades of political and military efforts, and while the process was complex and often violent, it laid the foundations for the development of a unified Italian identity. The Risorgimento was driven by the vision and leadership of key figures such as Cavour, Garibaldi, and Mazzini, who navigated the complex political landscape of 19th century Europe. Despite the challenges that followed unification, the creation of a unified Italy marked the end of centuries of fragmentation and foreign domination, shaping the course of Italian history in the years to come.